It's just like how every stranded on a desert island movie begins. A plane flies casually through the sky, you slink back in your seat enjoying the view, and there's no sign of trouble at all, except for those few rain clouds off in the distance. Suddenly, lightning strikes, the wind picks up, and the turbulence starts thrashing you around. You forget every safety procedure the flight attendant showed you, and soon, you're plummeting out of the sky like a fuelless rocket ship. Say goodbye to life as you know it. But wait, what's this? You managed to crawl out of the wreck? Something must have blocked your fall. How is that possible? Is surviving even possible? Oh, it's very possible. And here's how. First, let's ask Vesna Vulovic. She survived the longest fall in history without a parachute. Vesna was a Serbian-born flight attendant. It was a job she always wanted to do because she loved travel. But when the flight attendant test came around, she was worried she wouldn't pass due to her naturally low blood pressure. So she did what any 22-year-old did before a big test, and drank coffee after coffee until her blood pressure was high enough to pass the test. Which she did. Congrats, Vesna! You cheated the system and got the job! If you think this story should end here with a happy ending, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's hear what happened. After 8 months of flying, she boarded a flight from Stockholm to Belgrade. During the flight, a baggage explosion occurred, and the plane began to fall. Now, normally if a giant hole appears in a plane, the sudden change in pressure will cause the body to, well, stop working and be in pieces. But Vesna managed to survive the fall with only 2 broken legs, 3 broken vertebrae, a fractured pelvis, broken ribs, and a fractured skull. She was walking again in 10 months' time. She also suffered amnesia, which made her forget the actual fall, and thus never developed a fear of flying. But back to the question at hand. Vesna, how did you survive? Are you a witch, a superhero? Maybe you anamorphed into a bird? Well, not exactly. It turns out the thing that almost prevented her from becoming a flight attendant saved her from the crash. Her low blood pressure, added to the fact that she was pinned to the plane by a drinks cart, allowed her to not be taken by the sudden change in air pressure. I don't know what's more impressive, that or the fact that she continued to, and in fact, loved flying until her death at 66. Vesna Vulovic isn't the only one who survived great falls. Bear Grylls, the beloved TV personality and adventurer, survived a fall without a parachute. This fall was 16,000 feet, and Grylls totally intended on using a parachute. The problem was, his parachute malfunctioned, so he went for his reserve parachute. A smart choice when plummeting to the earth. Except that one malfunctioned too. Amazing luck, huh? But when he got to the ground, he survived. He's still kicking today. Now, he did break his back, which took a year to recover. But better than losing your life. So, how did he survive? Unlike most people in that situation, Grylls had a second to think and used his parachute pack to break his fall. Like Vulovic and the drink cart, having an object hit the ground before you absorbs the shock of the impact, making the crash less severe. And Grylls didn't stop adventuring. No siree! He even said, "Sometimes it takes a knock in life to make you realize what you really value. I left that hospital with a fire inside to live life boldly and with gratitude. I had been given a second chance, and that doesn't always happen." I guess we could all learn something from Grylls, especially when your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and you think there's no way you can survive another day at your job. Just remember, at least you're not falling 16,000 feet out of a plane with no parachute. Another young woman survived an 11,000-foot fall with 2 malfunctioning parachutes. Her name is Christy McKenzie. This was her 112th skydive, so she was a bit of an expert by then. But even that won't stop an accident like this. Despite a speedy plummet lasting about 45 seconds, McKenzie only suffered a fractured pelvic bone and a couple of bruises. And by what crazy miracle did she survive? Before hitting the ground, she landed on some power wires which slowed her immensely. She claims those power wires are what saved her life. Now this is some seriously scary stuff. So let's say you're in this kind of situation. How do you survive? Well, try using the Bear Grylls method. Use your parachute pack or another large object to fall on and absorb the blow. You might break every bone in your body, but you'll be alive. But before all this, if your parachute malfunctions or gets tangled, it's best to cut it off so the reserve doesn't get tangled in the mess. Avoid hitting the ground vertically, unless it's in water, then vertical is the way to go. And finally, aim for a bush or a tree or power lines. I know it's a lot to remember, but keep this in mind. There are about 10 million car accidents per year in the US. Parachute accidents? Per year, there are 21. Period. So it's super unlikely that something like this would ever happen, especially if you stray away from skydiving in the first place. But these accidents do happen, and thankfully we can look to the brave survivors and the skills or luck they had in these falls. It seems either these people have superpowers, or what we think is the impossible isn't the impossible after all. So, go out there, and don't be afraid of a little high-flying adventure.